Hey everybody, welcome back to Backlog Banter. I'm your boy Abram, joined as usual by Tucker Hazel, and this is the gesticulating episode of
Do we
Backlog
have to move our
Banter.
hands for the entire
The
episode? Great.
whole
I'm getting
episode.
tired. I just did BLB and boy are my arms tired, you know what I'm saying?
I just flew in and said my arms are so tired. You know what I mean, Tucker? And if
Woo.
you know what I mean, let me know in the comments section. Also, let me know in the Discord link as usual, top of the description. And down there, like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. Tucker, do we have a link to Backlog Banter, or sorry, Backlot Banter in the Backlog Banter description?
No. I never thought about that.
I think we should do that
It's a
because
good idea,
because
yeah.
this channel is floundering, right?
It always was.
But Backlot Banter is doing very well.
It's true.
It's doing very well. So
Yeah.
so go over there, right?
That's like a different kind of fish. This one's a flounder.
Yeah,
That's like
it's a grouper.
a grouper. Grouper. I wish there was more fish-based Animal Crossing characters so we could get a grouper one. I think that would be that'd be a great character. Also crazy there's not been a grouper Pokemon. Crazy.
I don't even really know
Insane.
what a grouper looks like.
Big mouth, swimming a bit.
Like Bruxish.
Kind of, but that's a whole nother can of worms.
Tucker, let's talk about the games I've been playing. We recorded this last, I don't know, 2 months ago.
Yeah, close to that, yeah.
It's been a while. We've both played a bunch of games. You, I think, have more than me. I've got
What's new?
a couple. I'll probably come up with some more as we're talking because I'm sure I've
Yes.
forgotten some shit.
Absolutely.
How many do you have?
So you don't use backlog to its fullest potential.
I use
That's the
backlog.
problem.
I do use backlog in the way that's important to me. I to see how many games I
It's
actually
true.
finished. It's the same way. Let me tell you something right now before we get started properly.
Okay, all right.
Because here's what I love about Sacred Symbols. They spend like fucking
Ah.
45 minutes talking about random shit, right?
Yeah,
Now,
exactly. Perfect.
We're not going to do that. But
Oh.
I made a list of New Year's resolutions I was going to keep this year. I basically failed almost all of them, except
Perfect.
for
Using Letterboxd.
using Letterboxd. And I'll tell you right
Yeah.
now, I really like using it.
I know you do. And I thought you would.
Yeah, I use it the same way I use Backlog. All I have is just one list where I put every movie I watch, and then I write a silly little review, and I put a score, and then I set it and forget it like a crock pot.
That's perfect. That's a totally fine way to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So shout out to Letterboxd.
Shout out to Letterboxd. They don't need our support. They're like the monolith of the digital film space.
They get your fucking money, don't they? You are single handedly
I hope so.
funding the as we were talking about before we started recording, the Hazel Empire and its vast riches is
Oh yeah.
in part funding Letterboxd.
You know, like the Lion King scene where he takes the baby and he's like, "All this is yours, asshole." And that was me with my dad, who was like looking at his fucking dirty ass garage and his like bunch of old magic props and like a stack of old computers. And he's like, "Ah, this will all be yours one day." I'm like, "Gee, thanks. I don't want it."
I was picturing you lifting Pat up above your head.
Oh, I see. Yeah. When I was born and I could literally fit in his hands because I was like a tiny, like 2-pound preemie baby. It was me. I was small, but I had a ton of strength. I was very dense. I could lift up a 250-pound man over my head. I don't know how much my dad weighs. 300, 400, 5, 6, 7 pounds.
All right. Enough fucking ballyhooing, right? I love that word.
Backlog ballyhoo.
You want to start? You want me to?
I should always start naturally. Oh God. Now let's see how far we can go back.
Right.
Okay. I think the last thing I talked about really was the GameCube games that I was playing.
Jesus.
And
fuck.
yeah.
Okay.
And the last time I played one of those was January 4th. So it's been a minute. But then I took a pretty big break because I came back and I was getting used to school again. And I was probably watching a bunch of goddamn movies. But I've been on a game train for about a month now, and I'm feeling good about it. But what really kicked me back off into playing games again was the release of Hi-Fi Rush, which is a game we can talk about on here because both of us played that game, and you didn't beat it, so you didn't put it on your backlog. So I bet you forgot you played that game.
I did forget about that game.
But Hi-Fi Rush released, and it's kind of the hotness of 2023, I would say, so far, in terms of a game like instantly grabbing like a group of people, and it seems like a lot of people. I mean, this is a big goddamn deal.
I just farted. Did you hear it?
Well, it sounded like maybe a bubble surfacing.
I was just curious if my mic would pick that
gentle.
up. I figured of all the shows to try it on, I might as well try this one, right?
Yeah.
But you liked Hi-Fi Rush.
I did. Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. And I also gave it a review with one Botox Media, who he and I finished it around the same time. He blasted through it in like 16 hours or whatever. You know, that's what he does.
Right.
I beat it a couple days after him, and we talked about it. And I like that game a lot. I think that it is a great first attempt at something that is really fresh, especially from Bethesda, who, as a larger scale company, they're pretty averse to smaller games, to taking risks. I mean, I think you can count on maybe like one finger how many like small experimental titles their teams have done. Hi-Fi Rush, but it was really cool to see something completely fresh from them from an established team. That's like it's so entirely antithetical to what Tango GameWorks has done previously, which I also played a little bit of.
Evil Within.
The Evil Within, and it was fine. It was like a Resident Evil knockoff, and I was like, okay, whatever. Though there was like a Michael Bay ass fucking Roland Emmerich action sequence at the beginning where like buildings are falling over. I'm like, what? This is supposed to be a horror game. This is insane. But Hi-Fi Rush is a very, very, very good game. It has some pacing issues. It's not a perfect game, but I think for what it stands as, like, it's almost as good as it can be, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any criticisms with the game in any way that's worth discussing, really, because I played it for a little bit and I thought it was cool, but I don't fuck with the rhythm element of it. That's a personal thing. We'll talk about rhythm again later in the episode in a more robust way. But I also just don't like the art style. Not that it's in any way bad. I actually think the art direction is very, very impressive. Yeah. But the sort of like Disney XD, like American animation style is just not that interesting to me personally.
Yeah.
So the game didn't do anything for me, but everyone that I know who is less brain broken than I am really liked it. So that's always a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always really cool to see a game come out and receive like basically every kind of acclaim just like immediately. I mean, this game sold more than Forspoken in their opening weeks. It is one of the biggest deals on Xbox Game Pass in a while, and also for what a studio can do in shadow dropping on Game Pass, this is kind of the biggest example that we've seen of that. So hot diggity dog, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because then ultimately the game did not chart on NPD at all.
True. Yeah, of course.
But I think
I meant Steam.
Yeah, right.
It had higher Steam sales than Forspoken.
Yeah, no, and the reason I bring that up is that it's just I think the fact that even Tango GameWorks can just drop a game like that out of nowhere speaks to the fact that Microsoft is just doing something completely different. Like game sales don't matter to them. What matters is if you sub to Game Pass. And
I mean, hey, if they did, they'd make more games.
I mean, and here's to be honest, games. What is a better incentive to sub to a subscription service than a brand new game is available right now, right?
So, absolutely. I mean, the idea that this is now possible, and we'll see if it continues to be something that they can do. I do think that, as I mentioned in Bonai's review, the 1-2 punch of Pentiment and Hi-Fi Rush of like, okay, big name teams are putting out something really different, really experimental, and boom, day one Game Pass. You might not buy it otherwise, but you'll give it a try. The idea that that's now possible, that's the best sell that I could possibly get for Game Pass. Because like I love it for the back catalog. I don't really play most of the big new games that are coming out because it's mostly like a fucking Rainbow Six Extraction, and it's like, really, is that going to get me in the door? But hey, you told me that Tango GameWorks just made a game that no one had ever heard about. It's like day one, here you go, have a grand old time. Yeah, I jumped right in. That's what grabbed me back into this game mode.
Nice. You told me not to talk about it, but fuck you, I'm talking about it anyway. Speaking about stealth releases, my favorite stealth release of the year was Metroid Prime Remastered. Now, I'm not going to go deep into it because we're doing a full video with Bo, but before I got to fucking karate chops two young studs telling that Metroid Prime is not a good game, actually, I just want to take a couple minutes and just say that I fucking adored Metroid Prime Remastered. I think that
I'm gesticulating.
You just gesticulating episode. Aside from Retro not putting the credits of the original team in the game, it is basically a flawless reimagining of Metroid Prime, and that's an interesting and strange thing that they did because Nintendo does put the credits of original teams in remakes. Skyward Sword is the most recent example of this, or one that people talk about on Twitter. But this like apparently just like a retro issue because I believe Tropical Freeze had the same problem. But aside from that, I mean,
fuck you, Retro.
Aside from that, it is a beautiful game. the controls, I think, are not only twin stick is great, but it's really the button mapping that makes Metroid Prime play so much better than it did on Wii, where you had that free aim, but you had to like map shit to the Wii remote, which wasn't quite right. Beautiful, so
now you have
playable.
like what 3 times the amount of buttons on the fucking Joy-Con. Yeah,
beautiful, so playable. In my opinion, a timeless game. It's shot up to be maybe my favorite Metroid game. As I said in the Discord, I need to replay Dread to actually compare them, because Dread being my current favorite, to see which one I like more. But I was just smitten with it. I fucking camed my trousers when that shadow dropped.
Yeah.
But we'll talk.
That was nuts.
Yeah,
that was nuts. And there's a reaction to that effect.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that more in this separate video.
Yes, of course. Oh, of course, naturally.
Naturally.
Oh god! Every time I type NATCHERALLY, you're like, "Stop! Don't say that! Stop! That makes me feel weird." I'm like, naturally.
I think there's another early January game we should touch on. That's Fire Emblem Engage.
Sure, let's touch on it. Yeah, I guess so.
Because it's not going to
what do we have combined between the two of us? 4 hours, 5 hours, maybe.
So I played about 5 myself. I don't. How much did you play?
Then I guess 5. No, I'm just kidding. I played like 90 minutes.
Yeah.
I got to the Somnio, which is like your little hub area.
Right.
And I turned the game off.
Yeah. We had like master plans for reviewing it and everything, but it didn't really click for either of us.
Yeah.
I found the game to be quite good. I don't really. There's no like quantifiable flaw in the game that I point to and say, this is why I don't want to play anymore. For you.
And that's why you and I are perfect together, because you don't have any criticisms and I only have criticisms. That's not true. There are certainly elements of this game that I think are better than what they have previously done. The visual style, I think, as I was always praising the game from its reveal, giving it a more anime, pastel, colorful art style, I think really does sell it as something fresh, because Fire Emblem since Awakening has basically had the exact same kind of art style, which is anime characters in realistic environments, and that was fine, and I think it set it apart from Nintendo's games. But in terms of a larger aesthetic for Fire Emblem, I was always like, whatever, it's fine. I like the characters, but like the world was never interesting. But battling in the environments of Engage is this like really interesting color for the green, and you've got these full in 3D environments that they're fighting in that transition very naturally from the overhead to the underhead, and I think that visually and aesthetically and in terms of structure and all that, this is probably the best that they've done for Fire Emblem. But for me, and I want to say for most people, but who the hell knows if that's even true if I'm just projecting, the story has been the biggest critique of this game. The characters in the story aren't as fleshed out as they have been in especially the last few entries. And what sold so many people on Three Houses, but that you had like 40 characters that you could get to know, and like depending on what storyline you chose, of course, you had like a super in-depth group that you got to know extremely well over the course of the game. And that's what sold Fire Emblem as something so unique, is that you've got a group of characters that are your ragtag bunch of pals, and you're going around the fucking nation slaughtering people in fields. But you can lose them at any point, but you're so attached to them because of the writing and the story that you don't want them to die.
Yeah.
And I never play Fire Emblem with death on. This is not how I enjoy it. But I do think that when the story is critiquable and the characters are critiquable for the game as being significantly less interesting than previous entries, that's absolutely why I didn't play more of this. I was not grabbed by any of the characters that I'd gotten to know at that point. It was much more mystical, and there's fucking... Was there dragons in this one? Or that was... was that Fates? Whatever. Exactly. Your mom dies very early on, and I literally laughed because this scene had no emotional weight. It was so unearned. And so I felt no reason to continue playing. I'm obviously not playing it for the gameplay, which is a very different approach to Fire Emblem than most people are, but I feel like the balance needs to be there. So even if you are someone who's gameplay focused, you don't want to lose your characters because you're attached to them, not because then you have less gameplay options. I think that balance is very, very off in this game. And that's why, I mean, God, I was so excited for Engage. I got so excited when I saw that. For years, everyone was like, they're making the next Three Houses. I'm like, let's go. It's one of my favorite games of all time. And 90 minutes of it, maybe. Like I don't even know if I'm gonna go back to it. I'd like to, but I really have no idea.
It's not. I don't think the balance is wrong. I just don't think the script is good.
Sure. Well, that's the balance. Is like,
well,
the balance is good gameplay and good characters makes a good game. But if the balance of those two is off, I think that's a problem.
I think the reason I would disagree on the use of the term balance is because I think that Engage actually does a very nice job of balancing narrative and gameplay in the sense of return to the Somniel and having the support and the amount of support conversations you have and the ways you can optionally engage with the narrative. To me, felt like on a structural level, it gave me a little bit more of what I wanted compared to Three Houses, wherein it felt like the school stuff was in Garreg Mach was so important that you were missing something by not engaging fully with all that. It feels like in Engage you have space to do either or both or pick one. The problem, and you would have seen that a little bit more when you get a little bit deeper in, but the problem is just that the script wasn't good. I think that the construction of the game is maybe more quote unquote balance between story and gameplay.
Sure.
But I actually don't know why I stopped playing the game. I don't know if it's just because I was too busy. There was not enough. I don't know what you're very quiet all of a sudden, by the way.
Maybe I need to project more.
I don't know. Maybe it was just fucking up for a second. But
am I good now?
Yeah, you're good now. For a second, you were like
sorry,
little mouse man talking in my ear.
Little mouse.
I don't know. I don't really have anything to say about Engage because I like it.
Yeah,
I think that it's a great attention to detail, as you're saying, transitioning between the map and the battle. Like you literally knock over a fucking you go from the overhead to directly a tile in battle that represents exactly where you are on the map. And you shoot a spell and like destroys a fence or a wall or something.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's a very good game. I think I will play it, but I think I'll just play it later. Because apparently Nintendo's not releasing any games after.
That's true. Yeah,
July,
you'll have like what 4 years of no
apparently.
Nintendo games, where you have to go back and catch up on this and Xenoblade 3 and Xenoblade 2 and Xenoblade Chronicles and Xenoblade X, and you're gonna be playing Xenoblade games for the rest of your life. It's great. Can't wait for future Abram.
Throw another game. I don't want to talk about Fire Emblem anymore.
Let's go for my Hi-Fi Rush and then Evil Within, like down here, fucking holding on to its fucking pantaloon to my next game, which directly translates, which is like I tried Evil Within, and I'm like, okay, Bethesda Game Studios is really interesting to me. I think they're probably my favorite third-party publisher. Of course, they're not anymore. They're Xbox, but traditionally, in the minds of old jaded fucks like us, Bethesda is one of the big third-party companies.
Sure.
But I'd only played Wolfenstein, Doom, Fallout 4.
Did you play Skyrim?
Of course, Skyrim and like Deathloop, and like it was a really small stable of their IP that I'd even experienced. So I played Evil Within. I'm like, whatever, it's fine, no problems. But I need to play like 15 hours of this, whatever. And then I was like, you know who my favorite one of these developers are? That's Arcane. I loved playing Dishonored, what I played of it. I really enjoyed Deathloop when that was one of the big games of 2021. But they had a game in between there. One of them was Dishonored 2, which I haven't ever got to because I never finished Dishonored 1, which I'd like to go back to. Who knows if that's actually going to happen. But Prey happened.
Yeah. And
Prey is kind of the middleman between Dishonored and Deathloop, with a little bit of BioShock mixed in, and set on a gigantic space station floating above the earth, and you're just one guy up there. Your name is Morgan, either male or female characters. Morgan, you for both characters, and you're just trying to figure out how to stop the aliens that are on board from getting down to Earth. You're given the option to explore the space station, find out what your history is, because I guess I don't really want to spoil it, but there's some pretty interesting twists about what your role is in this space station within this company, what the history of the Earth that led to this point is. One key point being that JFK survived the assassination, and so the space race was like multiplied by 5 as JFK got really passionate about leaning into like extraterrestrial discovery, and so they built fucking space stations, and there's this whole really interesting history which I really enjoyed learning about. But for me, it was really the world and the gameplay that sucked me into it, and I played like 17 hours of it within like 4 days or something like that. I got really into this game, and I did almost everything there was to do because it was just really fascinating, of ostensibly placing the what's it called? The something sim genre that BioShock is a part of. I'm sorry, you're right. Immersive sim genre into more of an open setting. Is you can't go anywhere because you have to unlock the door. You got to go around here and make sure that you're getting the thing on the other side to like unblock it to go the other way. But giving you a lot of flexibility to explore the space station at your own risk, at your own peril, was really, really fascinating to me. And the risk and reward of anything around you could be an enemy, because the aliens that are on there can shapeshift into objects. They can be a cup, they can be a chair, and so at any moment something could pop out at you, which is a cool sort of light horror element to it. But they've got this really cool like Art Deco sort of spaceship design for this whole thing, and there's a really great attention to detail of every area that you could possibly need on a spaceship to like support a bunch of people is there. You've got room quarters, which every single room has a person's name on it, and it has stuff that pertains to their personality that you can like listen to their audio logs, and they've got this whole history around them and their offices, and then how do the offices connect back to like the elevator that's going to like the garden up at the top, and the extra spaceships down at the bottom. Like there's such an attention to detail to architecture and world design in this game that, combined with really fluid gameplay that, like Dishonored, mixes like basic gunplay with superpowers of you can turn into a cup if you unlock the power. You can use a bunch of like shock powers or whatever it is once you unlock those. It made it like a really fluid experience that I was just always interested to see what was on the other corner. Where was that going to go next? What is the next twist that's going to be revealed? And I mean, it's one of my favorite Bethesda games. I put it in one of my favorite games of all time. I really, really love Prey, and I'm suddenly very excited for Redfall, which I was not going to say before, but
Yeah.
Arcane, I think, has never made a bad game. So I'm really excited to see what they do with an even more open format, with their attention to level design and stuff that they've been so great at with like literally every one of their titles.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if Redfall shares any similarities with those games, because ultimately Redfall is a co-op service shooter, always online,
and more open world.
Yeah, so we'll see. Prey's quite interesting to me, because I think I would like it quite a bit.
Maybe,
but I've never played it, so
yeah,
I don't really have a whole lot to add to it.
No, of course you have no experience with the game, and I didn't either. No one talks about this game, which is why I was so interested to jump just like immediately into it and try to immerse myself in it. Is because the guys who made Dishonored, which is like one of the big popular third-party games of the Xbox 360 generation, made another game between that and Dishonored 2, and it was Prey, and it didn't do very well. No one really cared. And it was 2017, and we're focusing on fucking Horizon and Breath of the Wild and Persona 5 and Odyssey and all this, and it was Prey. Prey happened. And it's like I like finding like underdog games that I can support. Now I will absolutely be a Prey championer.
Yeah, I mean, because it's kind of a reboot, kind of a sequel to Prey titles that came before.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's like an immersive sim in a time when immersive sims are not that popular anymore. Yeah. You get more like RPG light stuff, your Cyberpunks and what Bethesda Softworks themselves make and things like that. So it's immersive sims in particular is something that I'm quite interested in trying, because I do like the RPG light things in Cyberpunk and in what I've played of Fallout, and even RPGs like KOTOR with their deep dialogue systems and really nuanced character creation and skills to unlock and shit to pick up from rooms and everything. I like gathering.
Prey is very Skyrim in the way of like you can pick up like anything in the environment, and there's always like you're always looking through trash cans to find a fucking like candy bar or whatever to heal you up later. I do like that kind of thing. It really makes me zero in on like all the environmental detail. I'm like, okay, this person's office, they like left it in a rush, so there's like a pile of like snack wrappers on the ground. Like, okay, they really thought through each of this, and I can pick up that fucking snack wrapper, and I can go like this. I can like toss it across the room, because in this game you've got like you can just like pick up like a canister and just fucking chuck it at like mock speed. It's great. Nice. It's a really great game. Love that game. Highly recommend.
I played a goofy little sci-fi game also.
You did? I have no idea what it is.
Oh, you do, because it's Dead Space, and I was playing it with you when we were on a call.
Oh, that's not like. Well, okay, that's not really a goofy little. It's neither goofy nor lil, so I think that's why I didn't connect the dots there. I didn't connect the stars like a fucking.
Constellation?
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah.
There we go. Have you been listening to Constellation, by the way? Last Stand's new show?
No.
It's very good. I think you'd like it.
I listened to a bunch of Last Stand Media last year. Yeah. I was like, okay, this is really interesting. Then I started listening to some older episodes, and I'm like, yeah, I remember why I don't like Colin. I got really mad at a few episodes, and I just stopped.
Constellation is fun because like just a general interest
I'll
podcast.
I'll try it.
It's like Game Over Greggy. And he
Never watched that.
You never listen to Game Over Greggy?
No. I'm a games guy.
You never listen to like fucking Grandma Miller and the Sickly Raccoon? It's one of the funniest things that ever happened.
I watched the animated version of that.
Oh sure. Why are we talking about this? We can't even talk about Last. Yeah. We can't even talk about that right now. We talk about Dead Space.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's fine. I think
now here's my question. Why'd you buy it?
Because
it wasn't something you were excited for.
I'm weak.
You have no experience with the series.
I mean, I don't really know what to tell you.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I thought it looked very cool. Well, you know what? Let's make this a duo segment because I also bought Callisto.
No, it's because of Callisto Protocol.
I bought Callisto Protocol also.
You didn't like that?
I didn't like Callisto Protocol very much. I think Callisto Protocol is not nearly as bad as people say it is.
Sure.
And
I'm sure.
and it's got kind of like a cool combat system that's about melee, which is not... It's not really what I expected.
Typical.
And it's got a little bit of like actually a Punch-Out-esque dodge system. What I found sort of
do the enemies go like this?
They don't, but what part of what annoys me about Callisto Protocol is like a guy will grab you, right? And it'll be a death animation. And what were we sold on Callisto Protocol about?
That there's 4 billion really grotesque death animations.
Yeah. But what it'll be is like a guy will grab your head and he'll like bonk you on the head over and over and over again. And I'm talking
Tom Jerry, And
I'm talking we're literally gonna have a 12-second sequence of you getting hit in the fucking head and you die.
Oh, okay.
So my problem that I had with Callisto Protocol is that it is inherently incredibly campy. Sure, there's fucking blood and guts and giblets and shit all over the place, right? Not actual shit.
I remember you watching a Callisto Protocol trailer and being like, that is one of the most gross things I've ever seen in my life. But you bought the fucking game.
Yeah, but I think when I was playing it, it made me laugh. Both because it's kind of like yucky, and yucky stuff makes me laugh sometimes. But it also takes itself very seriously. And it's led by prestige actor Josh Duhamel of Call of Duty World War II fame. I believe it's a big credit. And so
pop quiz, what's the main character's name?
Harold.
Probably not, but let's go with it.
It's probably something like Jack. It's probably something like Jack Smith, if I had to guess.
Yeah, no, that actually sounds like very close to right. Hold on, we're figuring this out. Continue talking.
My problem is this sort of mismatch where I think that Callisto would have been a lot more fun.
Jacob believe. Very similar, yeah.
I think that Callisto would have been more fun if it was more like kind of B-movie.
Sure.
But it takes stuff so seriously. And there's also sort of like issues wherein I didn't quite feel the movement was quite right, and I didn't quite feel that the level design and the checkpointing were always working with me very well. Yeah, so there's a lot of rough edges. But I mean, ultimately, it is Glenn Schofield who's an industry veteran, but at a striking distance, and that is a new team. So it's a new IP. It's a first game from them. And through that lens, I think it's quite impressive. But it just wasn't doing it for me, so I put that down. And I said, you know what I should do? 1 month later, I should spend another $70 on another horror game.
Yeah.
That's basically the same thing. And it's Dead Space Remake. And I think Dead Space Remake is maybe better than Callisto Protocol.
Maybe.
But my issue is I just don't find survival horror that compelling.
Sure.
Because the first thing is, and to be honest with you, you're not going to scare me. That's the number one thing about these games. And
sure.
And I'll be curious to try RE4 remake, see if that scares me. I doubt so.
It. No, because RE4 was never intended to be a scary game. That's really like the RE7s. That would wet your fucking willy.
Well,
make you pee yourself.
RE7, I mean, I just pee myself for fun. But RE7, I think would actually scare me because that's like an archetype of horror that I do find particularly scary to begin with.
Sure, Southerners, yes, exactly.
Well, here's the thing, but like RE2 remake doesn't scare me. This doesn't scare me. So there's no tension for me in the first place.
Anything with Leon S. Kennedy is camp. Anything with Ethan Winters is terrifying.
I just find even well, that's another great example. I didn't find RE8 scary at all.
No, it's not scary.
I was like, the baby's kind of loud. I don't really like the baby, but that's about as.
Have you seen the video of Tanner freaking the fuck out as the baby is chasing him?
No, can you send that to me when we're done?
Like hooting like a fucking owl. It's insane. Yeah. I filmed that entire thing of him. It's really funny. I'll put it in the video too. I remember.
Thank you. But so it doesn't scare me, so the tension's not there. And so ultimately, I get more annoyed than scared when I'm like running out of resources. Now, what I liked about Dead Space is I wasn't running out of resources. I always had ammo. And
Yeah,
as
sure.
what are they called? Necrophiles? Necromorphs is what they're actually called, I believe, in Dead Space. Making a necrophile joke. Does that get us demonetized? I don't know.
I doubt it.
And it's fun to shoot off their limbs. It's clever. I like that.
Yeah, that's a really cool mechanic.
Yeah, and in the remake it looks quite good. There's like giblets, like shooting the limbs off. And there's like cartilage and everything. It's really good. But it's just slow, and I just don't think that slowness speaks to me. So in the absence of tension, the slowness just feels like, okay, I'm walking around the Ishimura, and I'm gonna flip some switches, right? And I'm gonna shoot some guys, and I'm gonna get to the MacGuffin, and it's just not for me. It's part of the reason why RE4, the original, is like kind of the only horror game I really like. I think. Can you name another horror game I like?
No.
Can you name another horror thing I like? There's a couple horror movies I like. Yeah.
You like The Exorcist, right?
Exorcist is scary.
Yeah. I feel like you've talked about that one before.
The Exorcist is scary. Bones and
Get
All.
Get Out.
Love Bones and All.
You like Nope, but is that really a horror
movie? That's not a horror movie. Bones and All is definitely a horror movie. That movie's yucky.
No, it's not. It just features cannibals.
It's yucky. Like I had a conversation.
Does yucky equal horror movie? Like you look in the toilet and you're like, ew, horror movie.
I shit flowers like that girl poop meme. I'm done talking about Dead Space.
That's fine. Yeah, no, I'm gonna try both those games at some point. I have access to Callisto Protocol through your own fucking weak-willedness, which is Godspeed. That really sells it for me. But I played Dead Space a while ago. I have it on Steam, and I enjoyed like the 3 or 4 hours I played of it. But I was also in my mode of like, why would I finish games? I never finished fucking games back in the day. What are you measuring? An L?
I'd lend you my copy, but
copy of what?
Dead Space.
Oh, Dead Space?
Lend you my copy.
Oh, you bought it physically. Oh, that's right.
Oh,
and I don't have yeah. Okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna play that game. You know what I played about 5 minutes after I played Prey? I downloaded another game off your account. No.
Predator Hunting Grounds, Ilphonics 2017 multiplayer game.
I downloaded another game from your Xbox account. I asked you for your Xbox password so I could download a game.
Right.
And that was Sonic Adventure.
Right.
I played and beat Sonic Adventure in one day. Now, that is because of a very specific caveat. I only played Sonic's campaign. Yeah. There are 5 other much shorter campaigns where you play as fucking Big the Cat and Omega and Amy and Tails and Knuckles. But I was really only interested in what this game did in terms of evolving the Sonic formula, which is just Sonic. And I got enough information from watching a bunch of reviews and discussions and retrospects about the game, what those other ones were like. And the theme across the board is they're all worse than Sonic. So I'm like, it seems like I bit the bullet there in the right place. But Sonic Adventure,
just say it's bad.
It's not bad. It's impressive. Sure. For what they pretty much went from making 2D Sonic games on the Genesis, and then they just skipped an entire console generation and fucked around with some tech demos and canceled all of those, and they rushed out Sonic Adventure. And it's a very mismatched game in terms of its pacing, in terms of gameplay ideas really being fleshed out. I only think that 2/3 of the levels are very fun because it's the ones where they are trying to emulate that 2D Sonic experience in 3D, and you're doing the loop-de-loop on the first level, and there's the orca jumping over, and
Emerald Coast.
Emerald Coast, that's a great pull. I played the game, I wouldn't even know. But there's a reason that the cutscenes are memed. I genuinely thought that Donkey had edited some of the cutscenes for his videos.
Yeah.
No, they're just that bad. And the worst part, not only is the voice acting not very good, but the worst part is that the fucking Dreamcast's memory drive was too small, so I had to stop between lines of dialogue. So it'll be Sonic saying something, and then you'll wait easily 6 seconds of silence, and then Eggman will be like, and then you wait another 6 seconds of silence, and then Tails will be like, oh no, and that really kills any tension that these scenes could possibly have. And also the voice acting is really bad. We've all seen the memes. It's impressively terrible. But there is a fun to that. I will not deny that I enjoyed the memeing.
Perverse fun, though.
Exactly, my kind of fun, our kind of fun.
Right.
But I think it's okay. I think it's impressive, but I think on a technical level, a lot of the movement and like geometry of the level just is not synced in proper ways. So like I was doing that Emerald Coast level, and I would like get stuck on like a turn, and then like I would clip through the thing and fall in the water. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I gotta play this section again because who knows? I don't know what happened here, but some of it was my fault. And there's a good enough of those moments that like made it feel really janky. It's one of the jankiest games I've ever played. But as a Sonic, I have an interest in Sonic.
I see what you mean.
I was really excited to play the game and see the connective tissue between classic Sonic, which is that Genesis era and 2D games, and what the rest of Sonic is. And I'm interested to play Colors and Generations and a little bit of Unleashed, and I have Black Knight behind me, and I'm a sick fucking bastard, so I'll play 06. But and of course Adventure 2 and Heroes, and Lost World, and Boom. God, there's so many Sonic games. But I don't like the game very much, but I think it's an interesting and impressive jump from 2D to 3D.
Yeah, so I played Sonic Adventure for less than an hour, and I distinctly remember going, no, it's just not happening.
Yeah.
But I was having a conversation with my friend Tony, who was telling me that the versions on Xbox, and even just the base version that's on Steam, is not good. It fucks with a bunch of stuff.
Okay.
And that the best way to play Sonic, what's this game? Sonic Adventure.
Yes.
You get the DX version from Steam, and then you install a bunch of key mods to get closer to the Dreamcast version while also modernizing it where necessary.
Yeah.
And the game is good. Or at least you have the best chance of enjoying Sonic Adventure that way.
Yeah. And
I think I would like to give it that effort because unlike your like fucking again perverse interest in Sonic the Hedgehog, I just straight up like the guy, you know.
Yeah. Oh, look at him.
Look at him. Love this figure. So I would like to play it.
Yeah.
But what I'm kind of holding out hope for is that it'll just come.
You've never modded a game before.
I have. You want to get crazy? When I was still working for Retroware before those sons of bitches shut the website down.
Sure.
I interviewed.
Greatest experience of your life. Loved working there. No problems.
No, that's CBR.
I actually really. There's so many websites. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
I actually really enjoyed writing for Retroware, and I met some really great people there. Shout out to Juno Stump. She's killing it over at GameSpot right now. But I did a piece with the guys who are making the battle. This is going to get really nerdy with them. Sorry, I'm going to do it anyway. The Star Wars Battlefront 3 Legacy mod for Star Wars Battlefront 2. Yeah. And it's just an interesting story for people, so I think they'll enjoy it, even though I haven't played it recently. I have played Battlefront 2 recently, so this will be the connection.
Really?
Basically, what these people have done is they've talked to people from Pandemic who got Battlefront 3 canceled and played the leaked build and mined all the assets and everything, and using Battlefront 2 as a framework, updated the engine, and are basically rebuilding the entirety of Battlefront 3 and Battlefront 2. Fully featured. Maps 1-to-1 what they would have been. Mechanics 1-to-1 what they could have been. UI is the same. It's amazing. And I modded the game to do that on PC. So I would really like to play Sonic Adventure in the best way. But as I was saying, I kind of just wanted to come to Switch, and even if it's a compromised version, just play it there and be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm more interested, I think, in finishing Colors right now than I am in Sonic Adventure. That's not a long game. No, it's not. We played so much Sonic last year that it's
true. It definitely burned us out a little bit.
Yeah, when I started Colors, I'm like, I'll be back. Get to the chopper. I'll be back.
Do you want to jump over to another game?
Yeah. I want to talk, because I'm starting to remember all the things I've been playing.
Exactly. I knew this would happen.
I played the Wipeout Omega Collection.
Why?
Because I love F-Zero, right?
Oh, I
And
forgot about
and
that.
we have both been in sort of a circumspect mode of playing old PlayStation games. And
Yes.
I'm also in the literal situation in which I accidentally let my what's the highest tier PS Plus? Extra or premium?
Premium.
I accidentally renewed my premium.
Literally accidentally.
Literally accidentally. I got an email and I was like, "Oh my god, I just got charged $120 for this." Um,
Put it to good use.
put it to good use by playing the Wipeout Omega Collection.
Yeah.
Um, I don't really like it that much. And
Okay.
here's what I did. Because I played it, for people who aren't familiar, Wipeout is another arcade racer, quote unquote, analogous to F-Zero. And
Yeah.
so what I did is I played Wipeout for a while, put a couple hours to the game, and then I played F-Zero X right after.
Which you've already played.
Right after, but just
And you know you enjoy.
Yeah, to just sort of bring into clearer contrast why I like F-Zero and why I don't like Omega Collection. And here's the thing about Wipeout, right? It's got some of the best art direction and that I've ever seen. The menus, if you go back and look at like the original packaging for those Wipeout games on PS1, it's fucking gorgeous. They sell the straight up futuristic tenor of Wipeout so well. It's awesome. But the actual game, you got a fucking big guy. You're controlling a big vehicle. Part of what makes F-Zero X so fun is that you're really small on the track. So when you're moving fast, it doesn't feel like an illusion. It literally feels like, Jesus God, I'm a little guy and I'm going quickly down this track. I play Wipeout Collection, and the sense of speed is coming from like the speedometer in the corner telling me that I'm going fast, and then the track whizzing on the sidelines behind me quickly. It doesn't come from the actual on the sticks feel of trying to navigate, right? There's not the same risk. F-Zero is about risk, and the risk makes it fun. To me, Wipeout is a little bit more of like a fucking, you know when you see old people, right? You see them sometimes.
Not often, but yeah.
And they're driving their old...
I've had that experience before.
They're driving their old cars from like the Industrial Revolution down the road, right? On like a Sunday afternoon, just to enjoy themselves. To me, that's kind of what playing Wipeout feels like. Because I'm enjoying these sights and the sounds and the feel of Wipeout on like a world level of that art direction, the slickness of everything. But I'm like, brother, I want a couple more fucking CCs in this horse-powered engine, right?
Sure, yeah.
And so that's where I come down to Wipeout. I just don't think it has that. It doesn't have that chutzpah, as you might say.
Sure.
That F-Zero does, because F-Zero.
Is that my classic phrase?
Yeah, F-Zero is all about pushing it past the red line, as Rude from Final Fantasy VII might say.
And you love redlining.
So I think that as an arcade racer, I greatly prefer what F-Zero brings to the sense of speed and tension. That said, when I go back home next, I want to put Wipeout onto my PS4 because it has full VR support. And I'm curious what VR would do to this game for me. But in standard resolution, it looks beautiful on PS5 because it's an already good-looking PS4 game. But I'd rather the fucking shitty polygons of F-Zero X because it makes me feel like I'm going quicker. And I think that's more important for the actual sense of gameplay. And I will say, there is no like GP mode in Wipeout. You can you're basically solving individual like little challenges to clear tiers of a story mode. But the challenges are like, do a lap as fast as you can, or do an individual race. That's all it is. In F-Zero, you have got 5 lives and 5 tracks to clear, and the stakes are much higher there. And you're doing race after race. Here you're doing an individual... What's so funny?
You said GP, and my mind went to double penetration.
That is funny.
Okay, sorry, you can finish it.
But I don't like the structure of the game either.
Okay, that's fair. Oh. You'd rather there be GP and no, as opposed to no GP.
You have known me to be a man that likes GP.
Absolutely. Okay, let's do a couple quick flybys here.
Sure.
Rise Son of Rome. Notorious Xbox One launch game.
Yeah.
Still looks very good
Yeah.
to this day. Probably upscaled a little bit because I'm on a fucking next gen console. I actually like the combat quite a bit.
Yeah.
Of swinging your sword back and forth, but there's this risk versus reward of if you are able to combo an enemy, you can choose what bonus you get from killing them. You can get a boost of health back. You can get a little bit of extra power so that when you kill your next guy, you're killing him faster. You can get a burst of XP.
Yeah.
I actually really like that. I think it keeps you engaged with relatively simplistic combat by switching up what your reward for that combat is, which I've never seen done before in a game. I found that really fascinating. And while it looks good, it has been, I think, fairly maligned for being super on rails. It's tiny areas that you're fighting a couple of guys in, and then you move on and you do like a quick time event. You do a quick cutscene, and it takes control away from you quite frequently. And then there's a scene, an actual cutscene of just like a Roman guy talking to a Roman guy, and I'm like, I do not care.
Yeah.
I could not give any more of or any less of a shit. And so it lost my interest. I played it for like an hour and a half or something, and I think that was kind of enough. It's not a particularly long game, and it is obviously on Xbox Game Pass. So if anyone out there, you want to give it a try? Sorry, I mean, it's such a large chasm of people who don't want to play Rise of Rome. It's available on there, and I think it's worth giving an attempt just for a second but it makes so much sense why this was a disappointment at launch. Like this,
Right.
This like 4-hour long, like really hand-holdy, simple ass game that looks very good.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Is what you're selling the console on? It's a little bit iffy.
I think it's interesting you say this because I think that when you decouple a game from being a launch game, it becomes probably better.
No, I absolutely agree. I'm saying in that context, I understand why it's not popular.
It reminds me, of course, it wasn't a launch game, but I think it had a similar set of expectations on it. A game we both like a lot.
The Order 1886.
Exactly.
Ka-ching!
And so I'd be interested to... I actually am interested in playing this game on its own terms.
Oh, so I was talking to you. You were just really far away when I was...
Oh, right. I actually... I mean, that is true. I am very far away from where you are right now.
That's a great point, yeah. That's about how loud I have to be talking for you to hear me over there.
I could just open my window and I could hear you.
Wait, Maryland? Fucking Virginia? Where you at?
You want my address?
Yeah, it's on camera. And while you're at it, Social Security. Let's go for it.
I mean, you've done half of that already.
That's a great point, yeah.
But yeah, I would like to try it. I think there's something interesting about launch games.
Yeah, so do I. Absolutely. Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, and then you get a game like Breath of the Wild,
and then you get or you get Mario 64.
Yeah, or even you get like Miles Morales isn't a good example because it's on PS4 also.
Yeah,
you get how about this? You get Master's Playroom, which is still very good, but just small.
Very good game. Love that game. Yeah.
By the way,
oh god,
state of play that will have happened by the time you watch this video.
Yeah.
Doesn't that new Astrobot game for PSVR 2 they showed look great?
Ooh, that's certainly possible.
I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something right now.
You will buy PSVR 2 if they announce an Astro game?
I don't know how long I'll be able to hold out on a PSVR 2.
Yep.
I was starting to feel the FOMO today.
Yeah.
I opened up.
Of course you were. It's been like less than a day and you're already money, I gotta spend it.
Yeah. Because there's stuff I want to play. Let me show you a PSVR 2 game if you don't mind. It's
The Last Clockwinder.
What?
Oh, that's not it? Oh, that's a really interesting game. That would be the first game I'd try if I fucking got it.
Is that on PSVR 2?
Yeah. It's one of the launch titles.
I saw that in Jacob Geller's video about his favorite games last year. And I thought
that was really
fucking
really
awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Jesus. But it's called C Smash VRS. It's been announced recently. Now, I need to disclose that I am very familiar with this game. And I've been familiar with this game since before it was announced because Lost and Cult is working on some promo stuff for it.
The most recent video about this game is a 7-second video with 27 views.
don't even know what video you're talking about. But let me explain what C
It's just like some random fucking
Yeah.
guy with a Mario profile picture that uploaded 7 seconds
That's
worth
bizarre.
of footage of this game. Why the fuck would you make that a video?
But what this is, and I've been excited for people to know about it for a while because it looks very cool. And my friend Jörg Tittel developed it. It is a sequel or a spiritual successor, you can say, but it is published by Sega. It is a Sega game. It's a PlayStation VR2 exclusive game. A sequel to Cosmic Smash, which was a Sega arcade and Dreamcast game.
Okay.
And it's like an arcade sports hybrid, and it's got this really interesting, futuristic, very clean aesthetic. And Cosmic Smash was always the game that sort of interested me as a Sega game that looked cool, that disappeared, just like where did it go, right?
Yeah.
And now they're bringing it back to PSVR 2, and I think it's going to be fucking banging. And on the basis of C Smash VRS, I want a PSVR 2 just for that.
Interesting.
But Astrobot's really the linchpin. If they announce one, I think I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't think these are gonna be hard to find, so I'm not too worried about it.
We'll see. We'll see what their like production levels are for these things.
Yeah.
I would love. I was listening to PS I Love You today.
Yeah.
And Greg was talking a little bit about PSVR, and I'm like, I'd really love to like have a VR
Me too.
headset of my own. And PSVR 2, I think, seems like the one that I would want to go to, with the future expectation that Sony will support this goddamn system with games of their own, which was a huge problem with PSVR. But it has so many of the games from VR's past that have been re-updated to be on better hardware. I'd love to play Tetris Effect Connected in VR. Obviously, that's a game I already love. But you Super Hots, and you got What the Bat coming out, and you got Moss Book 1 and 2, and Astra's Playroom, and Call of the Mountain. Like, there are a good number of games. I think the only game that I would want to play in VR that's not there is Half-Life Alyx, but that's never going to come anywhere. Except maybe we will. Who knows? But if we get one or two teases of, hey, Sony Studios are making big games for this, we're going to be supporting this with things that are pushing the VR medium forward. What is it? 2 days from now, and in that presentation, I will be significantly more sold. Yeah. I'm already pretty sold because I'm not someone who's experienced with this VR, and this seems like a very good starting place. But even though I have $550 to my name, I don't know if I have $550 plus games to go towards PSVR 2.
That's exactly how I feel also.
Yeah.
I have actually played PSVR 2, and it was very comfortable, and it alleviated
you said that.
Basically all of my hardware level issues that I have with the first one. So it really is, it's a question of cost, and it's a question of games, because there's a couple things that line up. I'm such a fucking awful person, because the port of that Star Wars game from Oculus Quest is like the main thing I want to play on it.
Of course it is.
But what's the next thing? Whose turn is it?
No, I was gonna do some flybys, and I talked about Rise for a little longer than I wanted to.
Oh, okay.
But
keep flying.
I turned off Rise Son of Rome, and I was on a voice call with Avi. And I started up another interesting Xbox One type game that had also went completely overlooked, which is Mirror's Edge Catalyst.
Sure.
There was a sequel to Mirror's Edge, and they made it open world, and I think better than the first game in almost every way, but I don't prefer the experience I had with it because Mirror's Edge was a special game to me when I played it years and years and years ago. But Mirror's Edge Catalyst is the Mirror's Edge aesthetic of clean glass buildings and bright reds and yellows and blues placed into these environments, but placed into an open world that I think really facilitates the free-flowing movement of parkour in a much more engaging way of choosing paths and reading the environment in a way to make you reach goals. There's a lot of doing races against fucking ghosts or delivering a guy's package in a certain amount of time, which makes a lot of sense because it's a game about movement, but in a way that I think facilitates your interest in that movement and the mechanics in a lot better way. I was on my ass and balls like to try to get some of these things delivered in like the time frame. I was doing them on like the third time. I would slide my tiptoe into like the zone in like the last fucking 0.02 second. And I really liked the game. But I was playing it as a background game, I'm on a Discord call, I'm watching a podcast, I would skip every story cutscene, I would skip everything that I could. I was doing only the mainline content to just try to see the end of the game, which, by the way, I'm not sure I did. I don't know how this is possible, but I did all the story missions but I never rolled credits or anything. So maybe I was like missing something and I didn't actually do the final mission. Maybe there's like a bad crescendo to the end of the game. I really am not sure, but I played the game for 5 or 6 hours, and that's about the length of the game. And I enjoyed what I played of it.
Yeah.
And I think it is a little bit overlooked, especially considering how many people. Well, okay, there's not that many, but the people that do praise Mirror's Edge, I think that Catalyst is the better game. They made the movement a little more interesting. You've got this pretty cool move that I can't remember if it was in Mirror's Edge or not, but when you run onto something, if you hold it down, you jump up like really high, and it makes the
I don't think so.
movement flow really interesting. But I did like that game when I played of it, and I count myself having beaten it, even though I'm not sure. I honestly have no fucking clue if I beat the game or not. And also, I couldn't care less. I don't know the story.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Mirror's Edge hater, so.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Good game. What else?
My turn?
Yes.
Tucker, I beat Punch-Out on Wii.
Oh, yeah, Wii Punch Out.
This is the game I've been interested in for a while. And so I basically been sick for the entirety of the month of February.
Yes, it's true.
And so here I am, I'm fucking lazing about sick.
And it's been really annoying for you because you've had your body feeling bad, but it's been even worse for me, even more annoying for me because I can't get anything done because you're always like,
yeah, I've got a long funnel that I put out my window and it goes all the way into your window and I cough into it. and about 45 minutes to an hour later, a cough hits you.
Oh, here.
Yeah, so I think this game is really good, and I said this on in my backlog review. I don't like, you commented on my backlog review. I don't like the characters of Punch-Out.
I
the
remember
biggest
hearing that.
problem with Punch-Out is its characters. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Punch-Out is racist. Every character is a stereotype, and I think you can make the case that maybe the game is.
Sure.
But I'm not going to because A, I don't think that there's any malintent, and B, literally fucking everybody is turned into a caricature. Yeah. And so I think that if you want to ascribe any sort of stereotypical racism, it's directionless. So I don't think the game is in any way harmful.
Sure.
But I think that as well it becomes sort of...
Maybe the Punch-Out dev team just hates everyone.
Possibly. But I think as a result it becomes sort of faceless. I think that the art style and the art direction are just kind of like whatever. I gave the example of Soda Popinski, whose character trait is like, man, this guy is Russian. What do Russians like to do? They like to drink vodka. What can't we put in a Nintendo game? Vodka. Right? It's not fucking 1995 anymore when Koopa can drink a bottle of champagne on the podium of Super Mario Kart. Year's 2009, right?
Yeah.
So instead of having, what did you call him? Vodkinski?
I said Vodka Vodkinski.
Right. He's Soda Popinski. And that's what he is. And that's his character.
Yeah.
I think that's really lame. But then there's this big fucking guy named he's not Mr. He's a king. He's King Hippo. Yeah. And he's just this big fucking...
He's the classic big villain.
He's a big fucking oafish guy. Big old belly, 2 teeth, big fucking cartoon eyes, right? Akimbo in size.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, why can't every guy be a King Hippo and not a Soda Popinski?
Yeah.
Moving beyond that...
I think it'd be even more boring if they were all King Hippo.
Moving beyond that, though, I think the actual game...
Fight the same enemy 10 times in a row.
The actual gameplay is also quite good.
Sure.
But... you can basically beat everybody by using sort of the very similar techniques. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying here, in effect, is that the art style, the gameplay, the mechanics, all of it comes from Doc Tyson's Punch-Out. What's his name? Mr. Tyson, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Then he bit the ear off the guy and went to prison, became Punch-Out Dr. Dream. Everything that Punch-Out does is rebooting that. It's very of its era. Both of that NES era, but also of the Wii era of let's do Donkey Kong Country returning. Let's do Super Mario Brothers Wii again. How about Kirby returns to Dreamland? How about in 2 days' time from recording, we return to Dreamland with Kirby, right?
With Deluxe.
If Punch-Out is to come back, I would like to see Punch-Out come back with mechanics that are a little bit more clever.
Yeah.
and with a story and characters that are more inventive. Because as it stands, this is the best version.
Arms.
Yeah. Well, they're different.
Literally one for one in every single way you just said.
Sure, but the games
more interesting mechanics, more interesting characters, a little bit more story.
In a way, but the games don't play similarly at all. They just both have gloves. Yeah. But I liked it for what it was.
Name another Nintendo character with gloves. Can't.
I liked it for what it was. I think it's a very good game. I think, like with most of Next Level's games, I guess even Bally to an extent, one thing you can say about that is that it's very polished. The game is very, very polished. And it's fun, and there's a real satisfaction to fucking knocking the drawers off of a guy.
Yeah.
And for the runtime of the game, it's perfect. Unfortunately, I didn't do like all the you can basically then do a title defense and fight everybody a second time. Once you do that, you get to fight Donkey Kong. Now that's fucking cool.
Oh, that's cool.
I didn't get to fight Donkey.
That's all you need to do in your life to be happy.
Of course. Or fuck Donkey Kong, as I accidentally wrote on Twitter. But I think the game's very good. But I just don't think it's more than that. And I think that Punch-Out, I don't think we need another Punch-Out. I think that if they made another Punch-Out that is this again, we don't need it. But if they want to reimagine Punch-Out, there's space for it.
Yeah. That would certainly be interesting. It's a game that I'd like to play. I have very little experience with most of the first-party Nintendo games on Wii. And this is one of the more interesting ones. Because Punch-Out is not like it's not really a franchise. It's like if Star Fox was only Star Fox 64, and Star Fox 64 3D.
Yeah.
And every game was the same game. So yeah, Punch-Out. Let's see. Oh, Mario Kart Super Circuit's not very good.
Yeah.
It's better than Super Mario Kart, but that shit still hurts my eyes. The tracks are pretty boring. This is an of its era thing. It's hard. It's really hard. Put yourself in the mind space of a kid who got Super Circuit and was like, "Oh my god, I can take Super Mario Kart on the go. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen." But I was playing it with Tim and Daniel, and they both are older and probably had this game when they were kids, and they're like, "Wow, this looks like ass, and it plays like ass, and the tracks are boring." And those early Mario Kart games really do nothing for me.
Yeah, I have so little to say about Super Circuit that I'm not even gonna add anything.
Perfect. But entirely different tangent. Literally nothing close to what I was just talking about. Professor Layton and the New World of Steam was just announced, and that's a return to that franchise that has been floundering, if not dead, for almost an entire console generation to this point. And we don't know anything about that. There will be information upcoming. There was a next level 5 direct that was not a Nintendo direct, but like next level 5 presentation that's coming up at some point in the future, which will presumably have more information about that game. Even though
March something.
Sure, that's my favorite date. But so I had only played in the past Professor Layton: Curious Village, which was one of my first DS games, and I really enjoyed that game. My mom got me Miracle Mask, which was the first one that transitioned into 3D on the 3DS, and I really liked that game. I'd beaten both those games. I'd played a good amount of Professor Layton vs. Phoenix Wright, which is a game that I'd like to get to at some point, but I'd never played Diabolical Box or Unbound Future, which are the other two games in that original DS trilogy. And I beat both of them. Back to back, I started them. I started Diabolical Box. I'd already had like 2 hours or something in my save file. I just played through that in like a day and a half, and then I'm like, on to Unbound Future. And I started that, and I played it all the way through in 2 or 3 days. And yeah, Professor Layton, still one of my favorite series.
Yeah.
And I think they only get better in that original trilogy. I say that with hesitancy because I still prefer Curious Village. I think the location's a little more interesting, and I have the nostalgia attached to it. But Unbound Future is clear and away the best one. Not only does it have the more interesting story with, is there time traveling going on? Who is this future Luke? How does that impact? You learn a lot more about Layton's history. He had this like girlfriend who died in a fucking chemical explosion like 20 years ago, and like he almost like there's this whole fucking thing. You've got this underground London that's supposed to look like the future. It's like, what the hell is going on here? Giant fucking 700-foot mechanical monster comes out the end. He's flying on a fucking helicopter trying to take it down. It's insane, and there's a memo pad, a really good memo pad. So from a gameplay perspective, it's a little bit better than the other ones. But those two games flowed together really well. I never was bored with them because the puzzles and the locations and the characters are always so charming, so interesting. God, It's one of the best soundtracks in a series ever. I love Professor Layton. I just wish the 3DS games didn't cost like $90 a piece to get them, which drives me insane. Azure Legacy is basically unaccessible because of how expensive it is, and I'll probably just have to buy it digitally before it is delisted.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited for New World of Steam because there's so much potential for Layton to be something bigger rather than just tapping through the picture environments. If it is a little more exploratory, if there's a little more story, if there's a couple more side characters, a modernized version of Layton could be phenomenal. And I love all three of those original games. God damn.
Yeah, I can't wait to borrow your copies of them because
Do you actually want to?
I actually do. Yeah, I actually really do want to play Layton because I never have. Just no reason that I haven't. It's just a complete ship in the night with me. I never have. So I'm really excited to try them. I don't know if I'm gonna like them because I think I might get bored. Not because of their fault, but just because it's like reading and solving puzzles. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the charm...
One great way to alleviate that?
Yeah.
Play with a guide like I did. And if you get stuck on a puzzle for more than like 25 seconds, check that guide. Get the answer, move on. Have a funny guy whose name is very explicitly connected to like his one character trait. Tell you something stupid and then like throw you a coin and like say, hey, my grandpa died last Tuesday. Here's a puzzle. That's what the games are. That's the charm of the game, is like any possible fucking reason that someone could have a problem or could have a thought, there's a fucking puzzle for it. And it's so on the nose about that, and the characters are so charming that like there's a chance that I could pull you in. And I think that it might be okay. I give you my blessing to play it with Professor Layton with a guide, and if the puzzle takes too long, you can just fucking look the other way and look up a guide. But goddamn,
absolutely. I love the world of them, so I think that might at least get me through. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Don't you love like accordion music? That's a big part.
Fucking love accordion music. My I'm getting parched.
It's probably because you've been sick for a month.
Mm-hmm.
Your body's probably not doing liquids like it usually do.
It's actually been doing more liquids because I've been trying to flush myself out.
You okay?
It's a couple things I don't really want to talk about. I'll do my flybys quickly. I played Pulse Man. It's not good.
Okay, no, we got to stop on that because you got to talk about why you played that, why you didn't like it, and in the context of like one of like the 7 Game Freak games that's not Pokemon.
Fucking Christ! I'm gonna need to, sure. Got a WhatsApp message from Jean. That works. I need to go to my gallery because I recorded a video of this game. I'll probably send it to you to put into the video.
Okay.
So, on Jurg's recommendation, I'm playing Pulse Man. Ben, what the fuck is this art direction? I feel like I'm going to become epileptic playing this game.
Sure.
Because it's going to express why I don't like it. But do you want to give a little history about Pulse Man? What do you know about Pulse Man while I find this?
Nothing.
You know
it's
nothing
like a little
about
Mega Man character looking guy, and Game Freak made him.
Yes, it's a game...
Genesis?
Made by Genesis.
Made by Genesis.
Made for Genesis, yes. And published by Sega. So, we're talking about a true blue Sega exclusive here.
Mm-hmm.
Where is this fucking
and
video?
Did you emulate this game? Is it available anywhere?
It's not available anywhere. Good, I found the video. Just in time. This is an illustration of why I don't like Pulse Man. Then I'll explain the video.
Visually loud, I would say.
I would call it more epileptic than loud.
Sure, the video stopped.
But you can call it whatever you want to call it.
Not late for dinner, though.
Not late for dinner. Pulse Man fucking hates that. So, my main issue with Pulse Man is that it looks like that for a lot of the game.
Sure.
It
reminds me of Sonic levels.
But even Sonic has a certain level of restraint. But except for when you're like Casino Nights and it's all about the excess. But this game is like, what if
or if you're anywhere in Sonic CD?
Hey, that's a fair point. I don't know what Sonic CD. I don't think it has a good sense of place, and I don't think that the mechanics are that good either.
Oh, that's a terrible combination.
Yeah. So when you're playing a platformer, in my opinion, what's most important is that it feels good to play.
Yeah, of course.
Pulse Man doesn't pass the vibe check on that front.
Perfect. All right, ding. CinemaSin 1.
CinemaSin 2. Sometimes, even if a platform doesn't feel great, or a game in general doesn't feel great, being in an interesting place is enough to compel you.
Mm-hmm.
That's CinemaSin 2. It's not interesting.
Is there an example that you would give?
I'd be that
has
video.
A great world. No, that has a great world, but not great to play.
We'll talk about it later in this video. How about?
Oh my!
But as a result, there's just nothing to grab onto here.
Yeah.
I think what's cool is like the Ken Sugimori illustrations and pixel art that kind of are in between things. But as a gameplay experience, the platforming is not satisfying. The combat that is here is quite basic. The hitboxes are tenuous at best. And the game is just like an epileptic, the kaleidoscopic fucking color illustration. How many colors can the Genesis do? Well, go fucking chuck in your copy of Pulse Man and find out.
Turn on Pulse Man and find yeah, that's the answer.
As I wrote on my backlog review, the third Game Freak game I played in the last 365 days that I didn't like. Also going to do a flyby past another one that you're probably going to say, hey, Abram, stop and talk about it, but I don't want to.
Abram, stop.
Okay, fine. I'll tell you about lest I not stop and talk about Last of Us Left Behind.
Oh, no, you don't have to talk about that one.
I think this is a really interesting and important narrative chapter in Ellie's life, and I think how it operates as both a flashback and it's both a flashback to Ellie's life that we don't see in the game, but also do you know where Left Behind takes place in the narrative?
40 years in the future. No, it's like it's earlier.
well, here's the thing about it, and I didn't know this. There's two timelines. One is Abby. Not Abby, Jesus, that's The Last of Us Part 2. It's Ellie and Riley in this mall.
Yeah, that's what I know about.
But it's taking place, quote unquote, in real time, in the gap between Joel falling on the rebar and you beginning as Ellie hunting in the forest when you meet David.
Yeah.
So I think that's super cool.
Yeah.
I love the narrative framing. But there is so much combat in Left Behind.
Really?
And I mean, these combat scenarios... as Left Behind ends, you do a combat scenario where you literally have to kill like 35 guys.
Jesus Christ!
And I'm like, this just doesn't feel like it's in the spirit of Ellie's where she is as a character at this point in the narrative. It doesn't even feel like it really has the balance.
Yeah, isn't she supposed to be like inexperienced with combat at that point? She hasn't met Joel.
No, I'm talking about all this combat is in the time wherein. It's the quote-unquote real time.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, okay. Oh, that makes way more sense than her doing it when she's like 12 or whatever.
It makes more sense, but even still, I'm like, part of what makes that section when you pick up control of Ellie fun is that you've only really seen her in combat when she is reflecting on the guy she kills in the hotel, and then when she's using the bolt-action rifle to cover Joel from the hotel and down the street against the Marauders.
Yeah.
And even still, she is so, like, frail... But you don't have Joel's bruiser quality to when you're really in these big fucking fights in the cities that you get into in The Last of Us.
Yeah.
So on a narrative level, I still cried because Neil Druckmann's a fucking master with a pen.
Mm-hmm.
I think the narrative Left Behind is great, but the gameplay is just not.
Writing with fire, playing the piano on fire, kind of mean.
Okay. We share 2 games. Mm-hmm. And I've got 2 others of my own. How many do you have?
A number. So I'm just gonna go. I started Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. One of the 6 games available on GBA Online.
Yeah.
And I played a lot more of that game than I was expecting to. I played like 3 hours of it in one sitting. It is such a different take on quote unquote early Mario Brothers. There's so much more personality to these characters than I'd ever. Because I never played a Mario RPG before. The like 20 minutes I played of Super Paper Mario like 7 years ago begs to differ, but I never played a Mario RPG before. And seeing Mario and Luigi have expressions and like a house and Mario taking a shower, of course, that's only like the first 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
But even that sets me into Mario being a world much more than I ever had before. The location of Peach's Castle is nothing, even in Super Mario 64. The galaxy is very disjointed intentionally because they're separate planets. The context of Sunshine is great, but then you go into a tube and you're in a funny NES Mario Sprite world, and there's fucking lily pads on a ping pong table or whatever. But Mario and Luigi is obviously a huge that because it has a world. There are kingdoms. There's quote unquote political conflicts. You have a much more engaged story. The Toads.
You mean Border Patrol?
Exactly, and that was one of the first moments I'm like, I kind of like this game because not only do you meet Border Patrol, but they ask you to do a jumping over a fucking jump rope mini game for like 30 seconds. It's really long. That I actually failed a couple times because it goes really fast at a certain point. But the mate of the game is exploring the little RPG overworld and doing turn-based combat, and the turn-based combat is better turn-based combat than I don't really like turn-based combat, and I put up with it. In a game like Final Fantasy VI or with Pokemon, I put up with turn-based combat because I know it's getting me to explore an interesting world and get to know these characters a little more. But I like turn-based combat more when I actually have to do something, which is what Mario and Luigi does. Is you have to have pretty damn good timing to get your extra hits on things. There are these like button time combos that the brothers do together that use up like your mana points or whatever. I really like what I played of it. I'm not sure if it's a game that I want to spend like 20 hours in or whatever because it's a full RPG game, and those aren't where I gravitate towards, especially because Mario RPGs like that. If I want an RPG, I'm gonna go dig into a Final Fantasy or something like that.
Yeah.
Or play an open world RPG like a Horizon or Fallout. But what I liked of it, the 3 hours I played of it, superseded my expectations. I enjoyed what I played of it, and I'm really glad that in really crisp pixel art, it's available on my Switch wherever the fuck I want to play. And if I get back to it, maybe it does become a great game that I really sink some time into. But I'm a sick fucking bastard, and I see a Mario RPG. I'm like, that should be like 8 hours, and I'd be all over that. But it's not. It's a full fucking thing, and there's multiple kingdoms to fucking save and all that. So, whatever. But very good game. I'm surprised how much I like it.
Yeah, I love Bowser's Inside Story. That game's so fucking good. I played a little bit of Superstar Saga the other day.
Yeah,
probably just the first hour. It's just kind of an awkward time right now because I got a bunch of shit happening, so I haven't gotten to really. I'm going to sink time into it because I love these fucking games. It obviously owes a lot of itself to Paper Mario. So like its combat system is largely just Paper Mario, but with two characters.
Mm-hmm.
You fucking so Toad sees Mario's cock and balls as this game begins, right? In the shower. You also see Mario's house in Paper Mario 1, so it's a lot of it is sort of trope from that. But I just think these games are more they're funnier, they're weirder than Paper Mario, they're more colorful than Paper Mario. I've always preferred Mario and Luigi to Paper Mario. In Superstar Saga, I've barely played in the past and played a little bit of this week, and so I think on the plane tomorrow, I'm gonna play Superstar Saga because these games just make me happy.
Yeah, and that's a good reason to play a game. I played a lot of games that make me mad, and I don't wish that upon anyone else.
Can I talk about
Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe coming out in 2 days?
I'm very excited for. Let me talk to you about another game on the GBA that stars a character in a universe adjacent to Mario who also has a hat on his head. And it is an M turned upside down into a W shape.
Oh my god, it's Wario Land 4.
It's Wario Land 4.
Oh my god. Fuck.
I don't like many of the Wario Land games, I don't think, really.
Okay.
Because
what do you have experience with?
I played Wario Land 1, 2. No, that's not
3.
true.
No, you did
Try
play
again.
2.
1, 3, 4, Shake It.
So
I'm 50-50.
You like Shake It?
I love Shake It. Shake It's a great game. I'm 50-50 because I also like Wario Land 4 a lot. I don't like Wario Land 4 as much as I like Shake It, but I sure as shit like it better than the ones on Game Boy and Game Boy Color, which I don't really like very much at all.
Yeah.
Wario Land 4 is it's in this middle ground between the older WarioWare games and then what Goodfield made several years later, in that it is largely a straightforward platformer, but it still has heavy collectible elements to it.
Yeah.
But you don't have to fucking go find a fucking a cog and a piece of bubble gum and stick them together, and like you do in Wario Land 3 to progress.
Sure. Yeah.
I think my problem with Wario Land 4, though, in part, is that they're just like, fuck it, brother, we're going to just do different shit in every level. But I don't think that it's as effectively done here as it is in, for instance, like a Galaxy, perhaps.
Yes, notoriously the better game.
Yes. I was trying to figure out, yes, I agree. So I ended up finding some elements of the level design a little bit toothsome, if you will, a little bit frustrating.
Okay.
But it's obviously it's two sides of the same coin, right? Because so much variety is fun, and there are really fun motifs. There's a level where there's just lines of dominoes, like domino trains, and you knock over the domino, and you have to run and beat the dominoes to the other end of the section, to like get an item or to open up the right door. If the dominoes beat you, maybe you can't get the item. Maybe you have to go a different path or various things.
Okay,
it's very clever. But some of the levels are just not quite as fun. The gimmicks aren't quite as interesting. They're maybe a little bit more annoying. There's a lava level that comes to mind that I really didn't like. But even that one, you freeze the entire level, run back through it as ice, which is kind of clever. Yeah. So the game ends up feeling this big knot of really weird and expressive pixel art and cool motifs, but underbaked level design and bosses that can be kind of frustrating and mechanics that don't always quite line up. It's a big jambalaya of ideas in a platformer that is absolutely worth playing, and it's absolutely one of the best looking games on the system, but it just isn't precise enough or polished enough for me. And that's where I come down on it. So I really enjoyed the game. I think it's definitely worth playing when it comes inevitably, I think, to NSO. So
yeah, that's what I don't have any like pressing interest in. I think that only having 3 on there is a really dumb choice. Like why that one? And why not Super Mario Land? We already complained a little bit in our in the Game Boy Advance video that you will have seen by the time this goes up. Hopefully, God, go watch our videos, please. But yeah, when 4 hits it, I'll absolutely give it a try. And the Wario Land series is so forgotten, but there's like 6 or 7 of those games. Like what? Well, there's so many Wario games that no one cares about. And I find that really interesting. I love that Nintendo has these pockets. I mean, every company has these pockets of their first-party games that go completely under the radar. But people know Wario as a character, but no one plays those games. So I'd really love to get into what Wario Land is as we see a game like Pizza Tower, which is a game that neither of us have played, but we're both very interested in playing. $20 on Steam. I might go buy it. Is this? Are you going to buy it soon, or?
Yeah. Well.
Wait till it hits consoles, maybe?
I think that Pizza Tower is inevitably coming to Switch.
Yeah, no, probably. That Wario Land mechanically has games that are now aping on it. Honestly, I think Pizza Tower might be one of the first. There might be some other indie games that I'm not aware of.
Anton Blast is the other big one.
Oh, that's a huge game, COD. Gosh, how can I forget it? But I want to play this. I want to play Pizza Tower, and yeah, it's cool. It's cool. They're very not Mario, which I like.
Yeah, they're so fucking weird. Some of the pixel art in this game is so gross in a good way, though.
Yeah.
Remember that stupid fucking dumb dog in the new Puss in Boots movie?
Oh, the one who's like,
yeah. Now imagine if like half of the things you meet in the game look like that.
Sure, good.
It's funny.
Yeah. Let's quickly talk about the original Ratchet and Clank on PS2, which I checked out on PS Plus Premium because I pay for it on purpose. But I had never played any Ratchet and Clank game previous to the 2016 reboot. And it was really interesting to go back to the 2002 game and see, frankly, how not a remake 2016 is. Because it is a reboot of the series. It has the exact same name, and it follows the similar story beat of Ratchet and Clank meet for the first time. That is it. And I really, and I guess Chairman Drac is like the fucking villain of both games, whatever. But it's really interesting to see, I think, how far the series has come, but also as someone with very little context of what the games were in between, how much context I'm missing for the growth of the series through multiple PS2 games, through way too many PS3 games, a break, and then the reboot. With that and Rift Apart, they seem to be pacing themselves a little better and putting a little more time and polish into these games. And I love both of those games. Both of my some of my favorite games of all time. But I don't know if the original will crack that same barrier because, frankly, a lot of the appeal of those games to me was the incredible variety of the guns, which this game has, but they're not as interesting as the ones in the new game. They're fine, but they're obviously a first blush at what a moveset can be. Although I'm not all the way through the game, and so there's certainly still more weapons I need to unlock. And the level design is good, but it's early 3D platforming PS2 era world design, and I just think that in my mind, Ratchet and Clank is this incredibly high fidelity, super diverse moveset, lots of particle effects everywhere, and obviously that could not have happened if they had not done 4 of these fucking games before you get to the PS4 one. But going backwards without the context of it being mind-blowing on PS2 of, oh my god, I can't believe all these bolts are on screen at the same time, and wow, what a diverse moveset for an early PS2 game. It's a little bit underwhelming. But again, it's not the same game as the PS4 one. They share some of the same worlds, and especially that first world you step into, and there's an elevator going down, and then a waterfall up in the back. Like, I remember some of these things, but they're so different, and the context is so different, and there's like twice the amount of planets in the original game as in the reboot, but I think the reboot has the levels being a little more fleshed out. It's a really interesting balance. I think the two games actually complement each other in interesting ways. In the original game, Ratchet and Clank don't like each other. Actually, it's kind of just Ratchet's like a dick. In the first one, he's like, fuck you, Clank, you messed up. And in the new one, they're buddies from the beginning. There's pros and cons to each, but I got to admit, the quote-unquote nostalgia that I have for starting my experience with the franchise with the 2016 reboot puts it above the 2002 one, which is not a very popular sentiment. But yeah, I think it's really interesting. I'd like to continue to play more of the games. Obviously, I really love the formula. I sat down and I played like 5 hours in a row because I just love Ratchet and Clank. But it's a little bit tougher to go back to a game with 20 years less of game design behind it.
Sure. Do you want to talk about the early PlayStation games we share?
Absolutely, 100%. Of course. Why would we not? I gotta believe, baby. We're talking about Parappa the Rapper 1 and 2. Now, let's start with what your interest was or knowledge was of Parappa the Rapper before you played these games just a few days ago.
Parappa was just sort of a silly guy, and I was always interested in him by that measure. That's as deep as I'm really gonna go.
Sure. Okay.
I didn't realize how silly of a guy he really was.
He's a really goddamn silly guy. He's also a horny guy.
Yeah. God, what's her name? Sunny D?
Sunny Funny.
Sunny Funny.
Can't forget that. And PJ Barry, Catty Cat, and
Big
Lammy,
dick swinging dog guy. What's his name?
Oh, Joe Chin. Joe Chin is here.
Joe Chin.
God,
yeah.
I love Joe Chin. He's great. There's a lot of characters.
I think you like the actual games called Parappa the Rapper and Parappa the Rapper 2 more than I do.
Yes.
But I love the world and ethos of Parappa the Rapper a whole fucking ton.
Sure.
And that's where I kind of come down on it, right? To me, Parappa 1 and Parappa 2 are basically on the same level of quality.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't get enough of how fucking just weird it is. It's almost indescribable. Saying it was about everything turning to noodles, right?
Yes. God.
That's so good to me to just say, look, we're gonna make a game, and it's gonna be short, and it's gonna be about a fucking dog, and he wears a hat, and he sings songs about shitting at the gas station. That
stage is so fucking funny.
Yes,
that's one of the craziest ideas for a video game stage I've ever experienced. I could not believe when he's. The context for that stage is so funny. Yeah. He's sitting there on a date, and Sunny Funny's like, wow, he looks so masculine right now. And Parappa's like, and then he's driving the car, and the car's almost empty. He's like, the tank's almost empty. No, I gotta piss. Oh, no, the pee in the car. He's like stumbling over his words, and then he gets out, and why is there only one fucking bathroom in this town? Why is everyone you've ever met standing at this thing? Rap battle to go piss. Fucking flawless.
Yeah, it's basically like a show us everything you've learned stage.
Yes.
But the context is everybody's really got a shit.
Yes.
And they're all taking their time.
Yep.
And it's so good. And I just love that spirit. I think it's a sense of irreverence that games from Sony have forgotten in large part.
100%. Absolutely.
And
go play Loco Roco. That's less contextual, but it's possibly weirder.
yeah. And I just like that anything goes idea of here's just a bunch of weird animal guys.
Yep.
And
or plant guys. Or whatever guys.
Yeah.
Just
They
people.
make a cake.
The bullies are just guys.
Yeah. I fucking love the Rastafarian lizard you meet.
Yeah, the chameleon, yeah.
Who sells shit at this swap meet. Or
Yeah.
the ant from the second game.
Yeah, he's great.
Who is all groovy and about like love.
Yep. And then you get so fucking big, you leave the planet, and
Yeah.
and literally you see like out at Sunny Funny's house, this is actually happening, and they're like gigantic. Oh,
Yeah.
the whole setup for that stage of like the remote, like pizza delivery. Oh, I'm here to fix your toilet. Oh, I'm just walking by. Pew pew pew. God, it's so funny.
The best way I can describe the imagination of Parappa the Rapper as a series is that it is so fucking nonsensical that I couldn't possibly imagine somebody even conceptualizing it.
Yes, 100%. And that was my pitch to you for why I thought you would be a fan of Parappa the Rapper. And we'll talk a little bit about your criticisms in a little bit.
Yeah.
But I played through Parappa 1, and that game is real, like, unforgivingly, you have to be unforgivingly precise, which is my main criticism of the game, as we'll probably talk about. But then when I got to Parappa 2, and the game starts off by Parappa being like, man, I fucking hate noodles because I want a bazillion noodles for why? I don't know. And then he goes to the burgers. Like, oh, burgers are gonna be so good. And then I was already like, okay, he got a bunch of noodles, whatever. Like that's his conflict in this game. And then the burgers turn into noodles. And like, why is everything noodles? And then that's not just like the theme of the first game or the first level. It's the theme of the entire, like, the story is that things are turning noodles, and you fight World War III against the noodle people that are like
the noodle
fucking
syndicate.
Noodle tanks. It's insane. It's insane. And I texted you, and I'm like, there is literally no way. You could spend 400 years, you would never be able to tell me the inciting incident of Parappa the Rapper 2. It is impossible.
Yeah. And that just means so much to me as somebody who values weirdness.
Noodles.
And noodles. And I think these games are the perfect length to where I see myself revisiting them.
100%. I'm going to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, because you can beat them in both under an hour, I would say, comfortably.
Yeah.
And it's just a 6 or 8 song track list of the weirdest shit you've ever seen in your life.
100%.
And it's an art style. It's not only just art direction and concepts that you've never seen before. It's an art style that is so peculiar.
I don't know how to describe it. The backgrounds are like a child cut out a bunch of paper, and then the characters are literally paper. But the environments are 3D. It's like, what the huh? And when they're moving, you like see the other side of their body as Parappa's like feet that are connected to his stubby ass legs are like whack it.
Here's how I describe it. Do you know what Richard Scarry is?
Yes, absolutely. The worm guy driving the Apple car.
Lowly, yeah. To me, Parappa the Rapper is Richard Scarry made by people who know what drugs are.
Perfect.
Not necessarily on them, but just know of them and have done them in the past and have an understanding, like a wider understanding of the universe.
Sure.
And it's just
wider than you and I will ever conceptualize.
Yes. Because I don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs, kids. Or Andrew. Or Abby. Or Daniel. You guys are watching this. Gravity. Welcome to the channel.
Yeah. So I don't even really want to linger on my issues too much because I feel like I just want to fucking praise these games for how great they are. But there are some things in terms of construction in both games that bother me. In terms of the first game, it's very endemic to that remastered version. The approach to the FMV cutscenes makes no sense. It's clear that this was
bad.
It's clear that this was a very low budget endeavor to bring Parappa back. But the solution is like, okay, these videos are what, 240p? 144 maybe?
Not even. Yeah.
We're gonna like cut them out in this like fucking wavy, like Austin Powers looking mirror almost frame to where you're looking at maybe 35% of the screen real estate is the video, and you're seeing like probably 87% of the actual video by the time it's been all cut out on the edges. So I think that's a really weird choice. And obviously, as you're saying, the timing is not right in the first game.
No. But it's like scarily unfair in places, and I think notoriously it's that fourth stage where you have to
Yeah.
make a cake, and there are multiple. Like I watched a bunch of retrospectives, and people are just like, "Look, I did it right." It's all like Parappa saying the words on beat, and it's like, "Fuck you, less
Yeah.
points," and I'm like, because honestly, I kept getting to like 3 bars from the end of that stage, but I was like teetering on the edge of like bad to awful, and I would just get there and I would just fail. I'm like, and then you have to sit there while the chicken says like a 30-second intro to the stage, and have to play it again and again, but only because the timing, the I don't know what it is that causes that,
Yeah.
but it honestly is a problem. And as we'll talk about with Parappa 2, actually, no, you know what? Fuck it, talk about it now. Is Parappa 2 has so much more fair timing that not only wasn't able to get through each stage on a first or sometimes second try if I had fucked up somehow.
Yeah.
But that allows the flow of the game to be a lot better. Like I considered turning off Parappa 1 4 stages in because I'm like I don't know if I have good enough rhythm to finish this. But I did. But Parappa 2 was a much more fulfilling experience because I didn't feel like I was being fought against by the game.
You can. The thing with Parappa 2 is it's so forgiving. You can straight up fucking hit the wrong buttons and they don't care.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
As I did many times. And to me, this is like kind of a pro and kind of a con because there's
Yeah.
also still times when I'm like, if I could fucking get the lineman's Rolex replay that you have in tennis in Parappa the Rapper, I'd be like, I hit the right button at the right time. You still said I did it wrong. But then I straight the fuck up, hit the wrong number of buttons and not even the ones I was supposed to hit, and you gave me a good.
Yep.
So it's this weird thing of like, is it too forgiving? Is it just like, is
That's
it like
true.
not paying attention? Is
Unclear.
Is like the rhythm adjudicated by like a little man inside my PlayStation who like is like fucking whacking off onto my CPU and just like sometimes look in the wrong direction? Like I don't know. But I also do find that the music in situations of Parappa 1 are maybe a little bit more interesting to me than Parappa 2.
Sure.
Parappa 2's conceit is a lot more interesting than Parappa wants to fuck, which is the point of Parappa the Rapper 1.
It's true.
But I think the individual music is a little bit more interesting to me in 2 and in 1. But then I also find in 2 the weird fucking karate bonus game that shows up slows the pace down. I find
skip those.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Okay, then scratch that.
Which I did by the third time. I did it for the first 2 times. I'm like, why? This is so long, and it's fine. But it'd be good for like a 20-second burst and / or a hey, it's fucking Master Chop Chop Onion's dojo. Play this minigame on the home screen. Why it's included as a bonus game that goes on for like actually 3 minutes, I have no fucking clue.
Because that's
a bad choice.
Yeah, because the other thing is not only was it kind of boring, but it also made me think like, okay, so I can't wait to see the next minigame.
No, it's the same one. Yeah. 3 times, yeah.
But we're talking about issues that distract from like the games, in my opinion, is like a product. But these as like a fucking sprawling universe that's gonna always exist in my mind now. I'm so smitten with Parappa and its characters.
Absolutely.
So.
And there's still one game that we have not played, which is Jammer Lammy, which we have no access to play because it's not available.
Well,
I've never emulated a PS3 game or PS1 game before, which is why I say that. Or wait, I believe it's a PS1 game.
It's a PS1 game. PS1.
Great. But I will figure that out before you and I meet and embrace.
Yes.
And then we will embrace around my Steam Deck and we will play Jammer Lammy together.
Yes, we will.
But I love Parappa. Goddamn, I love both those games. I really do think that the experience is that's what I'm looking for out of a game. Is I like rhythm games. I don't like seek them out. But I think ones that are this short and the music is this good and they're so conceptually unique. Like I agree with most of the criticisms that you've said. But I didn't knock it down as far as it did for me. But I also see this being like one that like Parappa sits in the back of your mind for like 2 weeks and then you're like, nah, fuck it, I'll go raise my score because
I'm doing that right now.
It's so weird. He sat in the back of your mind for like half a week and he did it.
I know.
But I see myself like replaying these games and becoming more intimately interested in the music, and I actually remember the characters' names, unlike you. So like you have room to go to be a true Parappa fan.
You know, from doing quests with me and knowing me for as long as you have, I don't have any fucking idea what anybody's name is.
It's true. It's really difficult with your girlfriend.
I have her name written in the webbing of my fingers.
Oh God! Oh God! Oh God!
Um,
Parappa.
how many more games do you have?
One that I want to go in depth on, and then a couple flybys. One of them you might want me to stop on, but
Okay, do your flybys.
flybys first.
Yeah.
Okay. This flyby comes from this old puppy, my Nintendo 3DS, my new Nintendo
Yeah.
3DS Galaxy Edition, one of my favorite pieces of hardware I ever owned.
Beautiful.
God, I love the system. Actually, might be my favorite system I own visually. But I could have played more of the game I will talk about in a second while I was on the plane the other night. But I thought I might as well use this couple hours that I have of just like nothing distracting me to play some DS games and 3DS games that I had bought but never tried before. And this my journey. My journey starts off with a Masahiro Sakurai game, which is Meteos, a very early DS
Yeah.
puzzle game, falling block puzzle game that is nothing like any other falling block puzzle game, and it is so very Sakurai that it's like kind of hard to believe that a puzzle game has like this much Smash and Kirby Air Ride and Kid Icarus Uprising in it. Meteos is a falling block puzzle game, much like your Wario's Woods
Yeah.
and your Yoshi's, and of course, there's the iconic example everyone goes towards. What do you got something to say?
I'm just itching, but I do actually have something to inject with, also from Tetsuya Mizuguchi,
Great point.
who
Yes,
just done
which
Luminous.
is why I actually played it.
Yeah.
Which is why I played it, because I was thinking about Parappa the Rapper, and I was thinking about early rhythm games. And another example of that is Space Channel 5, a 2-game series that was produced by Mitsuguchi, and I'm very interested to play those games as well. Not available on modern hardware. We'll have to seek them out from illicit means. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Mitsuguchi and Sakurai collaborated on an early DS game that I own the cartridge of. Hot diggity dog! I'm gonna go play this. And I like what I've played of Meteos. It is not a game that teaches itself to you very well, and that's my main criticism of it, and why I'm not like addicted to this game, because I get very into falling block puzzle games. I played way more Yoshi than I think anyone in the history of the universe ever has. That's not true. I played like 5 hours or whatever. But Meteos is a falling block puzzle game, as I said, that you try to align 3 colors in a row, primarily up and down, because you can only move blocks in up and down patterns, which is very interesting. You tap on the DS screen and you can drag them up or down. You can't go left to right, which is limiting and part of my frustration with it, but it's a design choice that I think I respect. And when you align 3 of those colors, every block, whether it's sideways or up and down ways, vertical ways, shoots up into the air. And your goal is to make colors connect so that platforms of these blocks go up high enough to push the blocks on the top off the screen to attack whatever enemy is on the top screen. And that's really cool. Is ostensibly you're pushing back against the Tetris blocks falling. You're fighting against that, which I find to be really interesting. And a much better integration of that than, say, like Quarth, which everyone knows.
Of course, everyone knows that. It's a touchstone.
Yeah. By the way, that is available on the 3DS eShop. You can buy that like separately, because they have a lot of Game Boy games you can buy individually for like $5. And there's like a little story mode where you fight through multiple planets and beat a fucking boss at the end or whatever. But I think what's coolest about this as a falling block puzzle game, and where I think other than pushing back up against the flow, it becomes its most distinct, is every planet that the game has a different visual style. The blocks are, sometimes they're little guys, sometimes they're really bright, sometimes they're crazy simple. They're always crazy simple.
Yeah.
But there's a ton of different variations of what the blocks actually are. And of course, they're always still different colors, but there's like lots of different palettes of different colors. So they do feel different, and not only are they aesthetically different, they play slightly differently. Your blocks will shoot up into the sky at different amounts. They'll fall faster or they'll fall slower, and so it does change the way you're approaching a gameplay, the puzzle game aspect of it, because the actual flow of the gameplay is different depending on what planet you're on. And they each have like a little associated little fucking weird guy that like electroplankton. Let's see if we can pull this. What are the little symbol guys, like the basic enemy from Subspace Emissary? You know what I'm talking about? Like the little ones that jump at you.
The Primids.
No. The ones that are even smaller than that. They're like colorful. They've got like gloves on. Not the big bomb guys with the green hats. I know the Primids. I'm not stupid.
Are you sure that's not the Primids?
No, yeah, because those are the ones that rise out of like the black goop.
They're called they're called Goombas.
No, but I digress. They're like that, and this game is just very interesting
Yeah.
from every angle. But I wish that it taught you how to do combos
Yeah.
and how to like actually play the game in a more in-depth way than it does. It has a solid intro video, but it's also just a video. It shows you how to do it.
Sure.
You can't like interact with the tutorial. So I don't feel like I have a grasp on like what the combos of this game actually are, which is what makes a falling block puzzle game addictive. Is if you can get into that flow and know, okay, this is how I'm going to prepare so I can have a huge combo and send everything up at once. But I don't understand that yet. Which is the only reason I'm not like super in love with this game. I think it's very cool. It's very unique. It's very Sakurai because it's got this fucking Smash Bros. Brawl menus.
Yeah, it says menus.
And it's got like trophies and collectibles like basically any of his games. But yeah, that's my Medios impressions.
I really want to play it.
Well, it's actually not right here. This is something else we'll talk about later.
Okay.
But I'll hand you my Medios cartridge. I'll present it to you like this,
and I'll go.
And I'm like, no, my Medios. Other DS game I played, Pocket Card Jockey. Another Game Freak game. I'm talking about Game Freak today, but not in the traditional sense. Pocket Card Jockey is a 3DS downloadable game where you play solitaire and you're also a horse jockey and you're trying to get your guy to the end. I don't like this game. I don't think that the solitaire aspect is explained well enough to where I feel like I know what I'm doing. You've got this little guy, a little horse guy whose name's Horse. His name is Horse Off Course. And he is the tutorial guy who's like teaching you how to play things, but also at the end of each match when you have not gotten first place, because you fucking have to get first place to make any progress in this game, which is incredibly annoying. He pops up and he's like, "Oh, did you notice that you didn't get a great start to this match?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did, but I don't know how to get a better start to this game because it's what the fuck do you want me to do?" I lost my train of thought. Do you have any questions? Have you played?
I have no questions. I haven't played Pocket Card Jockey.
I think it's interesting. It's fascinating that Game Freak made this, that they combined horse racing and solitaire. The two things I don't think had ever been within 300 feet of each other
legally
in the history of humanity. Legally, yeah. There's a law that says you can't do that. But not only do I don't think those mesh particularly well, which is actually the compliment I've heard about this game is like, I can't believe how well they've meshed horse racing and solitaire. That's incredible. And I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? I don't agree. I also don't like the characters and the way they talk in this game. You've got like 2 or 3 guys that you're talking to. You've got like fucking Mr. Miyagi who's like, I will be your horse trainer. But they just like make like little horse jokes constantly. I'm like, shut the fuck up, please stop talking. I wish I liked this game more. But I think from the gameplay not teaching itself to you as well as I would want it to, and I feel like it's always fighting back against you because, as I said, you have to get first place in a race in order to like continue to move on. If you don't get first place enough times, they take your horse away from you. You have to start with a new horse, and you're like, okay, fuck you, I guess. I played like 2.5 hours of it because I was trying to get good. I was trying to get into the flow of it because there's this whole fucking horse breeding and like upgrade systems and shops and like there's so much depth to this game. But at first blush, it didn't explain itself well enough to me to where I'm like, I can't wait to get horse breeding. Like I'm really gonna want this stat to be better and like, ooh, unlock this ability for my horse to like make sure that I'm doing something else in the race. I really can't tell, but it's not for me. But it's obviously for a good amount of people because this game is enjoyed across the board.
It's got a sequel in Apple Arcade now.
No, I think it's just a remake.
Oh, I don't know. Whatever. I don't like horses. I don't like solitaire. I don't care.
Okay, that's easy. Easy enough.
How many times I can't. Game Freaks needs to take a pause. I'm all about Ilko right now. That's what I'm about. I want to go play One Piece Pirate Treasure, whatever the fuck the new game is called.
Yep.
And then I'll play the black and white remakes this holiday season.
Perfect.
Which will have also been announced by the time you watch this video.
That's a great point. The final game. This is the fastest flyby you can ever get.
Okay.
Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess Picross.
Yeah, I mean, what is there to say about it?
Yeah, Picross.
Okay, I have one game, and I'm gonna get very serious and very deep about it, and I'm not even lying to you.
Okay, that's a good thing.
Okay, I have played 4 hours of Atomic Heart,
Oh.
and I have a lot to say about Atomic Heart.
Mm.
And I've been kind of jocular throughout this video, having fun, making jokes, cracking jokes, things of that nature. But I
Yeah.
actually have a lot that I really want to try to articulate about this game.
Okay, perfect. Okay. I won't make jokes at your expense. I usually do, but this one I'll refrain.
So I want to read this tweet that Hasanabi put out. If people may be familiar with him, might not. He's a Twitch streamer. He is a leftist political commentator and plays games too. And so he tweeted today, thought Atomic Heart would be a unique work. Also, keep in mind, this is made by a Russian developer, which I'll talk about in a second.
Yeah.
Thought Atomic Heart would be a unique work, not marred by Western brain-rotten perspective, but American cultural imperialism is far too strong. The protagonist literally sounds and acts like Duke Nukem. Still a fun game, though, so far. Will continue to play. I think what's interesting about this game is that it's being situated because of its Russianness in a very peculiar way by games media.
Yes.
The game has received funding from the Russian government, and that is true. The Russian government, of course, has invaded Ukraine and begun a war in Ukraine, as we all know.
Sure, that's how I checked.
I think that the people that are saying we should be boycotting the game on that merit, or that Mundfish are pro-Russia in the war because they're not speaking openly in support of Ukraine, have no context for how the world actually functions beyond the United States of America.
Sure.
Mundfish, let's be clear with this. Mundfish cannot say, we do not agree with Vladimir Putin on this.
Yeah.
They cannot do that. They're going to literally endanger themselves and their family by doing that. So they were never going to do that. But you can read between the lines when they say that they are pro-peace and that Mick Gordon is giving a lot of his money to pro-Ukraine causes.
Yeah, I did hear
that the political stance of Mundfish is very clear.
Yeah.
I think it is at best misinformed, at worst in bad faith, to suggest anything else of the funding of this game, especially in the political allegiance of it, especially because this game has been in development for so fucking long. They got their funding from the Russian government far before the war began. And by the way,
of course.
They also
Which
have
wasn't that long ago, to be 100% honest.
And by the way, they also have a lot of Microsoft money too. So
yeah.
Obviously that's cherry picked though, right? So I just think that the political situation in this game is being unfairly attacked because of the geopolitical climate that is unrelated to them. And I actually think that there's something a little bit nefarious about the idea that we should not be playing a game made by Russian people because of what their government is doing. I don't think that's right. There's a big difference between people who are Russian and people who are in Vladimir Putin's Politburo.
Yeah.
A word I learned from Atomic Heart.
Wait, which game? Or which word? What?
The Politburo, I believe, is like the cabinet, but for like the Russian government.
Now, is that like pull-ups, like the fucking? Like,
no, it's like
like
politics, like politics bureau. I believe. But regardless, that's the distinction I'm making, and I think people need to be better about making also.
I support Abram on this,
but I also think that
pro Abram.
I think Hassan makes a really interesting point.
Jokes. Oh, I can't help it though.
Hassan makes a really interesting point in that the game does not feel Russian. And the idea of the American cultural imperialism paradigm is a much larger and much more complicated than BLB allows for.
No.
But
that we could comprehend, frankly.
Yeah, it's actually something I've been studying this semester quite a bit. But
oh, look at you.
It's quite interesting, the quote-unquote Americanisms of this game.
Sure.
Because you wouldn't say that this comes from Russia. It does not feel that way. Now, if you play the game in Russian, obviously there's that service level connection. But Hassan is right in that the protagonist is very Forspoken-esque in the these sort of Whedonisms that the script incessantly uses.
Yeah.
But he's constructed very similar to Duke Nukem. Now, there is a fair case for Atomic Heart being satire.
Sure.
And I think that, like, the first character you meet who is a fucking grandma who shows up with a flamethrower to attack the robots is further evidence. Or no, sorry. At first, she's got 2 AK-47s, one in each hand. She's got the flamethrower later.
I'm never going to forgive you for making that mistake.
You can make the case that the absurdism is supposed to be satirical.
Yeah.
But the game is not funny. And satire needs to be funny and direction and pointed in a direction. Otherwise, it's just sort of larger than life and zany. And it feels more like that. And
go watch a Triangle of Sadness episode that may or may not be out by the time this is out, where
probably
says the actual quote that you're searching for.
Yeah. So I think that narratively it's very weird. It also, there's been some discourse about the game being misogynistic. Okay. There are these very, like, idealized feminine robots that you encounter that have big boobs and a big ass and a small waist. And I guess there's a lot of ass shots and, like, camera ass shots later in the game in the narrative that I haven't gotten to yet.
Of the robots?
Yeah, of, like, looking at the robot's ass and everything. I mean, they are hyper-sexualized.
Sure.
I can't speak to that, but what I can speak to is a sequence in the game very early on when you meet Nora, who is a living vending machine where you do all of your crafting upgrades from, who literally sexually assaults you.
Perfect.
Then talks about how, and she's very feminine. It's not like a sexual vending machine. It's a living, insane, feminine vending machine that sexually assaults you. And talks about like how much she wants you to shoot your polymer into her. And it's very weird.
Yeah.
Because the game it's so interesting in its art direction and world building.
Yeah.
And its futurism and its ideas about class and automation, which I also want to talk about in a second. But at the same time, it makes all of these fucking weird, sexual, Whedon-esque choices in tone, in dialogue that I find off-putting.
Yeah.
At the same time, and this extends beyond the game again for a second, in the opening, which is very long, I think the game makes a very poor first impression.
Sure.
It talks about people's jobs being replaced by automatons.
Yeah.
Atomic Heart has AI art in it, and it has been promoted with AI art. Now, this is a different and political topic, but given what I do for a living, and given the fact that all of the art on my wall, other than obviously the Akira poster, is art that Lost in Cult has commissioned from artists in the book, I think it is incredibly hypocritical to make a game that criticizes the automation and the loss of jobs to automatons, and then use Midjourney or a similar program to make textures and promotional illustrations for your game. You have money from Focus Home Interactive, you have money from your nation's government, you have money from Microsoft.
Yeah.
This is your first game, but this is a AAA production by every stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
You could get the money to not use AI art in your game, because AI art operates by taking your prompt and aggregating all of these images from actual artists and shooting something out that steals from them. This is how AI art works. It makes a database of other people's stuff and amalgamizes it into a piece of quote-unquote art for you.
Yeah.
That is taking people's jobs directly.
Sure.
And that is it is incompatible with what your game is talking about thematically. So I have a lot of issues with how the game is situated. I also think that mechanically, it's somewhat strange in how it combines what is a linear FPS campaign with a quasi-open world, quasi-leveling elements, weird Uncharted-esque platforming first person, and sort of builds what is a sum of all modern design, but begins the game with literally 25 minutes of basically straight cutscene, and then melee combat that does not illustrate the success of your game.
Sure.
With checkpointing that doesn't work properly. The game makes a very bad first impression. But I think this game has an exceptional combat system.
Okay.
The crux of the combat system that you got melee weapons, you got kinetic weapons that use bullets, and you have energy weapons. And then you have like powers, like you've got a frost power, you can freeze guys in place, or you can shock them and things like that. Your energy weapons do not have an ammo source. What you do is you attack people with your melee to build up energy for your gun, for your energy gun. So the melee and the gun work together.
I like that, yeah.
And then you use your weapons to fire bullets. It's like a last resort because they're way more powerful. And the melee feels good once it's upgraded a little bit. You've got a dodge move. So it's all these systems interlocking. And it's really satisfying combat where you're knocking limbs off of guys and you see the bullet holes in them and everything. It is really excellent.
Yeah.
And the world is so cool. And it's fun to explore. And there's really nice environmental puzzles. And it's not just combat. It's exploration and puzzle solving. It's all put together in this kind of wacky AAA framework of all these ideas you've seen before. In a way where its combat through line, some of its puzzles are so good.
Yeah.
That I can't stop playing Atomic Heart.
Sure.
But I think it is deeply, deeply flawed.
Sure. For a lot of external mixing together reasons, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
I am interested in this game as well.
Yeah.
I really love the world concept and everything that I have seen. I don't know a lot of context about the game.
Yeah.
Frankly, the trailers that I've seen, I'd be like, "Ooh, that graphic looked good," and then it goes
It's
into
very
one or
pretty.
the other. And it's available on Game Pass, and I have the God-given right to go download it because I own Game Pass. Or I rent it. I subscribe to it. But I can't personally respond to a lot of what you said because I have no experience with the game. I side with you on the AI art stuff and the things about military and the criticizing the game development team for things that they were not personally involved in. I stand with Abram on those things. I think the thing that is keeping me away from the game is that apparently it gets a little bit bloated and it's like 25 hours long, and that's like impossibly long for a FPS campaign game. And so I think that it might be a game that I, like you have so far, try the first few hours, but I think there is a distinct possibility that, much like the amount of time I put into Prey, that the combat system and the world design, and if the level design is up to snuff, and I've heard a few criticisms about it being too open in areas, and maybe they should have scaled it back, hits for me, then I can easily see myself playing through a game. What I find the most fascinating is the problem of first impression that I'm glad you kind of guinea pigged for me, because balancing and not being representative of the gameplay flow, these are blatant issues with the game. But it's been interesting to see your like Discord message and like the meme of like, oh, I played Atomic Heart. First impressions, give me Wolfenstein 3 from Machine Games. I'm like, that's funny, but also that's a stark criticism because you're not interested in the game. But you played more of it, now you're like, okay, I can't put it down. Of course, Kirby comes out. Oh, actually, you leave tomorrow morning, so you're not going to be able to play it anyway. But that growth is something that very much intrigues me, because there's a number of games that I've had bad first impressions with, and I've become incessantly obsessed with afterwards. So I like that, and it titillates me.
You gotta get past that first hour, because it's either all narrative or they keep you underground with like no tools. You gotta pass it. I've fucking lost my voice entirely, let me be honest with you.
It's okay, no, and you know what? I think we ended here. I have one other game that I haven't been playing, but hopefully we're able to do a BLB not a month from now, and I'm able to talk about it in depth, because it's a game I'm very fascinated by. But you're going out of town. I'm into town. Perfect. Swips up, boom. But we've got plenty of time when we're taking a sort of downtime from Quest because of Timo going out of town, that you and I can focus on some games and hopefully do a few more videos. Get those in can and boom, straight into Brings Break, where we can record videos if there's fucking time for it. Who knows?
We'll see.
And you'll play Medios, and you'll play Professor Layton, and we'll play Jeremy Lammy. It's going to be the greatest fucking week of your life.
All the hits from 2023.
Perfect. Thank you guys for watching one of our longer episodes of BLB. What do you expect? What do you fucking expect? Especially when we don't do it for a month.
Yeah.
Bye.